You're listening to Wealth at Work, a show designed to help advisors think, make decisions, and cast a vision to create a business for the future. Hosted by financial planner, author, speaker, and CEO of Advisor2X, Ross Marino.
I'm joined by Pete and Jason. I think most everybody watching will know them. I've known you guys for years. Love that you're coming out to Wealth at Work to speak again. Hey, Pete. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Ross.
Glad you're speaking and love the topic, cryptocurrency and 401ks. Lots of headlines, lots of buzz out there. Pete, is it actually happening? Is cryptocurrency coming to 401ks?
Well, there are people who are putting in 401ks, but I think part of the purpose of our session is going to be to talk about the legal realities of that. And but let me throw this back at you for a second, Ross, because I've seen people on all ends of the spectrum. And before we started the call, you identified yourself as at one end of the spectrum. You're interested in this topic.
It's beyond interest. I can tell you, I go along with that cliche of falling down the rabbit hole. And it happened a few years ago, and it's really around blockchain technology. So the cryptocurrency is an application, but blockchain technology is fascinating to me. I think it's going to impact pretty much every industry in business out there, and cryptocurrencies, 401ks, just a matter of time that I think those get together.
Well, and my perspective is similar. I went down the rabbit hole myself a couple of years ago and ended up doing a two-part series for Journal of Pension Benefits. So if you're interested in seeing those articles, just check out Journal of Pension Benefits. But, the point of it, part of the point is that it is a technology. And one way to think about this is forget about Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that. It's just these things are sleeves, sort of like we had, collective investment funds, which everybody now calls collective investment trusts, CITs. It's just a way of packaging a fund, an asset. You could put a stock in one, you could put a bunch of stocks, bonds, whatever. You can securitize a package of stuff. Here we have a new technology for securitizing, although that's a fraught word, anything. And it has interesting capabilities. So I separate the technology part of it from the investment part of it. And I made the point in the Journal of Pension Benefits articles that I think in 10 years, cryptocurrency in some form, crypto assets, will be accepted as prudent. I'm not saying it's a good idea today. I'm not saying it's a good investment. I'm not saying you'll make any money in it. I'm saying that in some form, crypto assets will be considered prudent in 10 years.
Yeah, and that's an interesting take. And I'm there as well, falling down the rabbit hole. I think it's just a matter of time. But here we are, it's 2022. The regulations, I'm not even going to say the regulations are muddy for cryptocurrency. In many facets, they don't even exist yet. And now we're taking assets that we're not sure, are they a commodity? Are they a security? Well, we're not sure. We're sticking them into a regulatory environment anyway. Legal wise, what is that about, Jason?
Well, I think there are a couple different flavors, and I'll just pick up where I left off on my last call with a firm that is launching a new investment advisor with a focus on values-based investing. And, they wanted to know where the spectrum of risk is. And I said, well, there's safe and boring. That's, fiduciary 101. If you want to not have to look over your shoulder, stay very safe and boring. And I would submit that certainly Bitcoin as a core fund option is anything but safe and boring. So, but there's the structural decisions that are going to impact the amount of risk. So on one end, you have a designated investment alternative in some kind of a cryptocurrency where I can, as a potentially unsophisticated participant, I can put all of my savings in that investment. That's not what we're seeing, at least not on the legal side of the work we're doing at Retirement Law Group. What we're seeing is certain employers, oftentimes based upon their demographics of their employees and all of the wants and needs that go along with various demographics, are looking to add a digital asset window where through which a participant could direct a portion of their account. And so I think that's a very different proposition. We go back to the notion that selecting a brokerage account provider, for example, is a fiduciary act. You must do that prudently. I would say so too is digital asset window. We can draw a lot of parallels there. So I think those endeavors, I don't see them going away. And there is, to a degree, a roadmap, even though the DOL complicated things by introducing its guidance on crypto. But there's a playbook there, and it's the self-directed brokerage account option that we've seen for years.
Well, and hearing the self-directed brokerage, that's something that I remember being really worried about, self-directed options being added to 401ks, because obviously a bunch of people are going to put all their money into whatever the hottest tech stock is, and then they're going to lose all their money. Well, that didn't actually happen. The utilization of self-directed is way smaller than maybe I thought years ago. I can't remember, it was too long ago, but it's not as utilized as much as we thought. I wonder if crypto will be the same way, or if it really is a unique type asset class in people's minds, especially for younger people. Maybe they'll just dive right in. I mean, you went down the rabbit hole, Pete. What do you think? You think it's going to be more frequent than self-directed brokerage?
I don't think that it would be, for the same reasons. So people who want to get interested in that stuff, you look at the statistics, there are those who would be interested in a window of some sort. And then there are those who actually take the time to do it. And you've got different flavors of window, but no, I think it will be limited. And I think you'll have a couple different types of investors. Something that I would point out on the regulatory side that I think is going to make this conversation interesting for those of us who find regulation interesting, is that the Department of Labor has steadfastly stayed out of the investment business. So if you look at their history of, the guidance that they give, they don't say, here are the assets that are allowed in an ERISA fund. Here are the assets that are not allowed in an ERISA plan. They have taken care to draw those lines in multiple pieces of guidance, but they've gotten involved 3 times now, to my knowledge. They got involved with QDIAs, Qualified Default Investment Alternatives, after PPA 2006, and they were forced by law to write a regulation saying what goes in these things. And you can see how they look at prudent process. Then they got involved off and on to a degree in ESG, environmental social governance, and the old SRI, long history of that, but really a hands-offish. And now there's more of a movement to get that embraced. And I would view that as at least some meddling on the investment side. And here we have cryptocurrency, and the recent release by the Department of Labor of this, I think they called it a compliance assistance memorandum, basically saying, if you put crypto in a 401k, we're coming after you. And they wouldn't quite worded that strongly, but it was pretty darn close. So here we have the Department of Labor getting in the investment business for the first time. I don't think that's going to be any reason for us to be frightened of it. Not at all. But I do think that what will happen is that those who are putting these structures into play are going to do it with a lot of thought, with a lot of care, with a lot of lawyers, with a lot talking to the DOL. And yes, I think it's coming nonetheless.
Horses are out. Can't close the barn door now. Crypto is going to be part of life, whether it's 401ks, retail, little savings accounts. It's going to be everywhere. At least that's the trend that we see happening. I just don't know how that's going to stop at this point. Either way, great topic. So glad you guys are going to come out and talk about this. I'm sure it'll be an interesting discussion. Maybe we'll even have some new regs before you're actually up on stage. So we'll see what happens. Pete, Jason, look forward to seeing you guys out in Vegas.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Wealth at Work. The information covered and posted represents the views of the guests and does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Advisor 2X. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investment advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.